What's up, you people? How you guys doing? Today I wanted to go over a topic I feel like is very damaging and poisonous to our society, in particular the sexual life of our society. I want to go over the unhealthiness of being involved with BDSM. I believe there's a lot of people who debate on whether this sexual activity known as BDSM, and whether this is healthy or not. In my personal opinion, it's not. First, I'm gonna dive into what BDSM is. BDSM stands for bondage, discipline, dominance, and submission, sadomasochism, and other related interpersonal dynamics. Given the wide range of practices, some of which may be engaged in by people who do not consider themselves to be practicing BDSM, inclusion in the BDSM community or subculture is often said to depend on self-identification and shared experience. I've also seen some images on the side of this article that doesn't seem very pleasant at all. It gives me the feeling of someone who lets their pleasures rule over them. It also says here, BDSM is commonly mistaken as being all about pain. Freud was confounded by the complexity and counterintuitiveness of practitioners doing things that are self-destructive and painful. Rather than pain, BDSM practitioners are primarily concerned with power, humiliation, and pleasure. The aspects of these in B&D may not include physical suffering at all, but include the sensations experienced by different emotions of the mind. So pretty much, it seems like to me so far as I'm reading about it, that it's more of a psychological thing. I've always really had a negative view on it, not going to lie, but I figured that I do study on it today so that you can kind of see why I view it as a negative thing and why I think more people shouldn't really consider this type of sexual activity or indulge in this kind of sexual activity, because I believe that this is actually more damaging mentally and physically to your well-being. Also, as I was reading this article, I noticed that these people are pretty much projecting how they feel mentally and emotionally onto someone else in a sexual manner. I feel like pain is the root of it. When I say pain, I'm not talking about all about physical pain, but I'm talking about pain as like mentally as well, or emotional pain. They also have different types of BDSM role plays. When I was looking at this list, I feel like most of the things on this list can cause pain. If not physical, then definitely mentally, especially the ones that involve torture. But when it comes to the D and S in BDSM, those stand for dominance and submission. Dominance and submission of power are an entirely different experience and are not always psychologically associated with physical pain. Many BDSM activities involve no pain or humiliation, but just the exchange of power and control. If I'm being honest about this whole BDSM thing, I don't believe anyone should have to use all these different tools for any kind of sexual gratification unless there's something internally lacking and you need all of these external things to pretty much substitute for whatever is missing inside. When it comes to these particular sexual practices, I believe there are some psychological issues associated with the way they receive pleasure. I believe instead of condoning it or entertaining it even, I personally believe that people who indulge in these sexual acts do need some help. Sex was meant to be an enjoyable experience where two people make each other feel good in a natural, healthy, and loving way. I believe in this way of representing sex. It shows how a lot of people can really abuse the idea of sex with their twisted mentality and fantasies. I feel like that really takes away from what the true meaning of sex really is. Even in the Bible, in Hebrews 13-4, it says, "Let marriage be held in honor among all, and let the marriage bed be undefiled, for God will judge the sexually immoral and adulterous." What I'm getting out of these BDSM practices, or people who would really indulge in BDSM, is that they really do not have respect for the true meaning of sex or the true meaning of themselves. Let's look at how this affects people psychologically.
I had seen even another local ad for this local bondage producer, and I had seen that work, and it freaked me out. But there was something, even if you will, about that fear of it and how it was completely different, even than anything I had previously experienced. It was different. I didn't feel so, shall we say, commodified right off the bat. I had met this local girl. She was a local dominatrix. And she just sort of like really sat me down, was just like, you need to understand like the world you're going into, you are essentially going into like a tyrant's lair. What really, really mattered in the bondage world at the time was how well you could suffer. That's why even like some girls that maybe were a little less like conventionally attractive, it's like if they could take a lot of pain and a lot of abuse on camera, they were way more valuable. They want the suffering. And there was even something about financial extortion that took place where like, even though I really didn't want to do porn anymore, like those last few shoots that I did, I had to do them like just for the money. So I think that, yeah, like one thing that was definitely drilled into me is that, again, like that suffering well was my primary talent, all right? That narrative had to start to be deconstructed. Where all of a sudden it's like, it's almost like my tolerance, if you will, for, shall we say, predatory people or grooming behavior, or again, like seeing people in more gentle, like denying, yeah, their criminal activity. Like I just lost, like it's almost like the tolerance dissolved overnight. And like all of a sudden it's like I couldn't even stomach that kind of darkness or being around it.
Are you happy?
Oh gosh, am I happy? I like joy more than happy. Happy is a little capricious. I would say joy is a much more trustworthy and constant state. And I think it does feel a little bit like winning the lottery of life. But not just by pure chance, also, but also like indeed like starting to make the right decisions for once. What a novel idea.
When you have sex with someone, let's say, if you have to take so many safety precautions before having sex besides birth control, then there's a problem, I believe. Because it even says BDSM play is usually structured such that it's possible for the consenting partner to withdraw their consent at any point during a scene. For example, by using a safe word that was agreed on in advance, use of the agreed safe word or occasionally a safe symbol, such as dropping a ball or ringing a bell, especially when speech is restricted, is seen by some as an explicit withdrawal of consent. So if you have to do all of this extra work just because somebody cannot control their sexual desires, then should you really be having sex that feels unsafe? That feels like things can go wrong, that feels like things can go left. Yes, if communication works in these particular circumstances, then it's safe. But what if it doesn't sometimes? Because they even said in some rare cases, there's people who have died from strangulation. There's people who've suffered different marks, bruises, and just suffer from all kinds of things by doing this. For supposedly trying to have pleasure cause them displeasure because of the way that they're trying to gain pleasure. Like, there is a correct way to do everything. And usually if you're doing something right, there's no way it can go wrong. But like I said before, some motivations, they say there is intrinsic motivations and there's extrinsic motivations. The intrinsic more so believing that they were born with it, believing that it was something hidden within them, a hidden desire that they haven't explored, something that they felt that they've always needed. And an extrinsic, more so environmental, experiencing abuse, experiencing somebody taking advantage of them, or feeling like they lack control in their life, feeling lost, feeling confused, or even being introduced to it by somebody else. Those are extrinsic motives. When I think about it, it's never really a natural route. It's not something that just naturally comes within you and you say, I want to do this. There is always a certain place where that's coming from. Pain, confusion, stress. It's always something that's causing you to fall into whatever this practice is. I feel like a lot of the people who indulge in it either don't realize why they enjoy it, or they're somehow coping with some underlying trauma they experienced early in life. I don't believe anyone should practice or continue to practice anything involving BDSM, but instead focus on what causes them to desire it. I believe most people need to self-reflect and try to heal that part of themselves that craves these types of sexual practices. If anyone wants to figure out ways to enhance their sexual experience, I recommend getting married to someone you are committed to. I feel like they should communicate it with each other and find a healthy way of doing it, a natural way of doing it, and a loving way of doing it. Sex in general is deeper than just physical. I believe it's spiritual and emotional. I feel like ultimately what you do and who you do it with is your business, but at the end of the day, your life, your body, and what you do with it does matter to others around you. That's pretty much the whole point of this video. I'm trying to make you aware of the harm that BDSM can cause in order to protect you and to educate those who don't know about it. Because a lot of people support this. And the reason I say you shouldn't support it or encourage it is because this actually teaches people that it's okay to use sex to run from problems and to substitute for actual love. And it also teaches people that it's fine to indulge in these acts that involve pain, humiliation, restraint, and various other things that are damaging both mentally and physically. If you support BDSM, you're basically supporting self-harm. And as bold of a statement that may be, I believe both lead to a form of self-destruction, both physically and mentally. Sex is not a way to escape your problems, responsibilities, and anything that causes you distress. Without love, sex is meaningless. I believe the basis of this is more of a perversion than anything else. It's entertaining fantasies and lustful desires. So I recommend that if you are indulging in this, try to look within yourself and see what's causing you to participate in these acts. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I really hope that you all stay safe. I love you all. God bless you all. Bye.
This makes me sad.